speak on it. My name is Malik. This is Friday, number 2, the 13th, after the election, presidential election for 2020. Now, I'm glad that things are cool in the street, and I believe that the longer distance between the announcement or the decision of who really is or who really isn't, the better for the country. My concern is more about the destruction, looting and rioting and all that foolishness that takes place in the street than it is about who the president is. But in this little overview here, I do want to say this. They continue to spin this thing, but backwards. They want to say that Biden got more votes than any other president in history. A biggest lie you can ever tell. Biden ain't got more votes than nobody. What Trump did is he caused more votes to be cast than anybody. Trump got more votes than anybody. Trump got all of them folks that voted for Trump, over 71 million, and he got all of us, all of the other folks that voted to get Trump out, not to get Biden in. Let me say that again. See, Negroes, you got to stop getting played. They always use the overlay for the underplay. Now, I know somebody say, well, it's the underlay for the over. I don't want to hear it. I said what I want to say. The overplay for the underlay. They cover it up. But up under there, there's a different thing. The different thing here. I doubt if Biden got enough votes to even count. But we do know that all of them Negroes that went to vote, they wasn't voting for Biden. They was voting against Trump. That's clear. So all you other little people that running up talking about what all you did, no, you ain't did what we did because the Negro voted to get him out. The other folks voted to keep him in. Now, if you add the 71 million that voted to keep him in, and the 72 or 3 million that voted for whatever, in that 72 or 73 million is a whole bunch of Negroes that was not voting for Biden. That the least of two evils, at the point of the vote, Negroes didn't care if it was the boogeyman that was sitting there. They didn't care. They didn't even care about Harris. All they wanted to do, get him out. So I say that here on CAN TV because I want you Negroes to take time to listen. Don't play with me and don't play with yourself. You know Biden ain't got no mandate. You know Biden ain't got all them votes. Biden is the beneficiary of Trump. Trump won on every end. He won because he demonstrated how America really is. That's like him. He won on the fact that he did beat Biden. Whether or not he get a second term is not the point. So many folks voted to get rid of Trump that Biden is in there. But it's not a victory for Biden. It's a victory for the Negro and the other people that wanted to get him out. I'm through with that, but I needed to have it said. Because y'all running around here still talking about, I heard her say, the black woman is the backbone of democracy. Y'all need to stop that, man, before y'all get a backlash on this black woman, because the black man probably gonna start sitting out anything she involved in and go the opposite. You saw that with Trump. So, Negro community, don't fall for the okie doke. And black woman, that brings me to this. Look out, sister. It's all good. But stop shaking your little behind and pushing out your little breasts as if it's all about you. It ain't. But you keep on, you're going to be just like you are in the community. You know what I'm saying? Drifting. Drifting. Stop drifting, baby girl. You don't have to be the enemy of the black man to stand up for what's best for the community. But these white folks got you running all over the place. But then this little, I don't know what the hell she, I don't know if she's Puerto Rican, I don't know what the hell it is. This little gal that just got elected, so look like she Hispanic. Man, she making it clear. Oh, slow down, Negro woman. Slow down. It ain't all about y'all. We, the Latinos, the Latino X, we did this, we did that. When I look at what's happening in these communities, I have to salute the Latino X, or whatever the hell you call them, now. Because they the one got them Ram 15 and 2500s, them Ford 250s and others, all of the contracts. So little black woman, you running around talking about what all you doing? Why don't you and the black man get together and do like the Hispanic? Get some of these damn contracts. Huh? You got a lieutenant governor here in the city of Chicago. I mean, in the state of Illinois. You got a black mayor. Niggas ain't getting no contract. I'm seeing they working on these streets again every year. They dig up the streets and dig up the water pipes. And over there where I'm looking, man, I don't see no black. I see license plates from Wyoming. All over the place, and not one black person working in the middle of Inglewood. I was talking to some people yesterday. They standing there. I'm just so scared that sooner or later, there's gonna be some drama. Glen Bloom Park. Them geese done messed all over the park, so they got some Hispanics out there. They probably spent $500,000. Because some of the people was complaining, man, we can't walk around the track, we can't this. But the Hispanic, they use the track, they use the field for soccer, kickball. So they take up all of this grass that the geese use. And they done laid all new grass, but they put a fence around it, inner fence around it, because they know them niggas will come through there and steal all that grass. You know what I'm saying? But the grass is just gonna be stronger, fertilizer. So I bet they took that grass, they washed that grass, they relayed that grass, put it back out there, but the Hispanic had that contract right there in the middle of Inglewood. Ain't no damn politician said nothing. See what I'm saying? So, Negroes, y'all playing these games about what the black woman doing, and I hope whatever she's doing, she keep doing it. It's cool if it benefit everybody, because it ain't benefiting her. Because she in a position, but she ain't getting nothing accomplished. She ain't. So you need to give it to black man so y'all can get it accomplished like them Hispanic. Because right now, they rolling. I'm through with that. Now let's get back to another black woman. This woman that was elected by the people and then decided to go with Pritzker and become the so-called czar. I don't know why they thought she was a Russian. Czar? I think that's a Russian term or some shit. Mean whatever it means. Over the dope, the marijuana dope. Well, I was hearing a little something, and they say she ain't no longer over the dope. They done put somebody else over the dope. Because they had a statute that said if you was an elected official, you can't be appointed from that elected position into this other position. You go look it up for yourself. I threw it out there, now you pick it up. Bottom line is, she ain't in that position no more. Now, they probably got in another position where she can get the money, but that just goes to show you. She ran to look out for the people. But when she saw that money, and that white man, she said, forget you people, I'm gonna get the money and I'm going with Pritzker. And now, she ain't even in that position. See, black woman? You see how you get played? But I know this is a fake out. They knew she couldn't be in the position that she was in. They knew that from the get. They got all them lawyers. This was a trick. So now, let's see that piece about that $100 million they made off of reefer. They call it cannabis in October. $100 million in 1 month. That's a lot of money. And maybe she started trying to advocate for black people. Maybe she started talking about like Ricky Hidden and LaShawn Ford. Maybe she started hearing them say, wait a minute, baby girl, this ain't fair. And maybe she started trying to echo LaShawn Ford and Ricky Hidden. They were saying, we need our piece of the pie. Maybe that's what happened. And maybe when she started trying to advocate for the black community, I don't know if this happened or not, but maybe that's when she got moved on. So don't tell me no lie about they did not know about the statue. They did not know that it couldn't be done. They knew exactly what they was doing when they put her there. But the thing I want you to understand is this. She knew too. Same way we got the mayor of Chicago. She, Daley, Rum, Emanuel, and them other folk, they already knew what they was going to do when you had 21 people running for mayor. They had already cut the deal. But then they make you think that there was something else that happened. No. But they use, right now, the black woman. Damn it, I stand on that. I will say that. I ain't scared of saying black woman. I don't give a damn if you call me a chauvinist. That ain't what I'm representing. What I'm representing is the truth. And the truth is, this woman was in charge of the dope. And I bet you when she tried to stand up as a black woman, they told her, get out. You understand? Same thing will be when Harris tried to stand up as a black skin. Because I think it's in her. Where you getting at that now? I actually believe that Kamala Harris has it in her. Not the same vibration that the Negro have, but she, because of the Jamaican part and the Indian part. Man, some of them Indians over there so damn black, you can't even see them. I mean, they black as, and some of their hair is as nappy as ours. All their hair ain't straight. A lot of Indians are super, super black. So she got a lot of us in her. And I see her swagger. Her swagger, I think she do the best she can to try to be as close as she can to what she want to be. And that is a Negro. But she didn't make that call. But when the deal go down, she probably, you know, she ain't the woman that wanted to be governor of Atlanta. No, she ain't that. But then again, her and Obama, and y'all say you be critical on her and Obama. But the reality is, y'all, Negro, Harris and Obama are not burdened with the scar that the Negro had from slavery. Yeah, they had slavery, they had this and they had this. Yes, those people was subjected and all of them. Nobody liked the Negro. It'd be very hard for the white America, them 71 million that voted for Trump, and others voted for Trump, part of that 71 million. But I'm talking about the white ones, them off in the rural areas, them up in the mountains and in the swamp. It'd be hard for them to get somebody that's straight up out of the cotton patch. And they can go with Obama. They can go with Harris. And Harris and Obama can roll with them because their ancestors are not vibrating in their spirit like our ancestors vibrate in our spirit. You see, I would imagine that the sister that was over the dope thing in Illinois, marijuana, I would imagine when she kept seeing what was happening, I would imagine that in some of those meetings, Trix and the rest of them could feel she wasn't feeling that. And I imagine her vibration began to bubble. And now we see her cup running over. Because her ancestors know how unfair it was. Same thing with the mayor of Chicago. I mean, you know, it's only so much they're gonna be able to push on her. Because I saw her mama. And they from that little old church that had real church. After a while, them ancestors in her. It's gonna make her stop giving the Hispanics everything and the Negro nothing. They gonna make her. Yeah, they are. Then white folk gonna say, hell, we should have got somebody else. We don't need nobody like that because, whoa, she feels just like them folks that getting beat. That's who they want. So, brother, let's get to some of this stuff on this thing because we're running out of time.
In Chicago today, Mayor Lori Lightfoot announced new limits on social gatherings, and she urged everyone to limit themselves to only essential activities. NBC Vice Patrick Fazio has more now on The new approach by the city, talking a lot about protecting Chicago.
That's right, Allison. Yeah, this 30-day stay-at-home advisory for Chicago starts Monday. Governor Pritzker says he supports the mayor's decision. City officials are worried this wave of the pandemic will be deadlier than the spring.
We're here with some very sobering news.
Mayor Lightfoot announces a new 30-day stay-at-home advisory for Chicago.
Stay at home unless you must go out for essential reasons, like work or school, medical visits, or to get food. No visitor should be in your home unless they're essential workers.
The advisory urges people not to host parties or gatherings.
There is an absolute limit in terms of 6 people, but the recommendation and my strong ask is that people not have anybody over into their home.
The advisory limits other indoor or outdoor gatherings to 10 people, but fitness clubs and retail stores are exempt, and so are movie theaters and houses of worship. Bars and indoor dining will remain closed.
And if we see you violating these rules in any way, we're not going to hesitate to take action. Not through warnings. The time for that is over. We're going to fine and, if necessary, shut businesses down.
The flu and COVID fatigue have the potential to truly create a catastrophe that could be avoided here.
The stay-at-home advisory is meant to slow coronavirus deaths, which have tripled in Chicago in the past month.
We could see 1,000 more Chicagoans die from this virus by the end of the year.
Some of these models are projecting as much as 1,800 deaths.
Now, that's where we're coming. Now, you see the mayor has announced a advisory in order to deal with this spike. It is what it is. And it might have a multiple fold effect. The lockdown for 30 days might help manage the potential outbreak in the street as it relates to the election. It will affect the holiday. So let's listen to this piece.
Tyler's always been a little space crazy, so
Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar. Secretary Azar, thank you very much for being here tonight. Good to have you.
Glad to be with you, Martha. Thanks for having me.
So what's your opinion on that suggestion from Dr. Osterholm that what we need in this obvious second surge is a 6-week total lockdown across the country to snuff it out?
Well, Martha, I've got a lot of respect for Dr. Osterholm, but I do think we should be driven by science and data and the facts here, and they simply do not support the notion of locking down the country, sheltering in place. You know, it's important the American people know the facts, and the simple facts are that our colleges are not mechanisms for major spread of disease. Our kids in K through 12 are not mechanisms of major spread. We're not seeing those as settings for major spread of disease. Our normal workplaces are not settings for major spread of disease. Air travel is not a setting for that. Healthcare work is, our healthcare settings, going to the doctor has not been a major vector of disease. What we're seeing is the cause of this right now here and in Europe is it's indoor gatherings as we've gotten cold weather. We go in our houses with friends and neighbors, and we're not protecting ourselves by watching our distance and wearing our face coverings or getting into other indoor settings where we're not doing those things. That's what's driving this.
So do you agree with the 10-person rule that is being put in place in New York now? And do you think that people shouldn't gather in groups more than 10 for Thanksgiving?
Well, I'm not going to get into second-guessing governors and mayors about their interventions like that, but I'll say our CDC guidance, which is up on coronavirus.gov, gives you advice about that risk continuum. And the more people you have over, the more you're at risk, okay? If you have more people together that are not household members, you're getting at risk, and you've got to be extra careful then about distance and wearing face coverings. But we got real practical suggestions. Open your window if you can to increase ventilation. If you've got a ceiling fan, turn it so that it points upwards, so it vents upwards. Use single serving things for the food. The most important thing is, even if we sacrifice this year for Thanksgiving and Christmas, we want to make sure that everyone in your family is available next year for Thanksgiving and Christmas, so you can celebrate fully.
That's for sure. Let me ask you this. Are we still seeing the same demographics affected? Is it still mostly the elderly and people who have serious comorbidities? Because, from the numbers that I'm seeing, that has not changed in this really tremendous resurgence that we've seen across the country.
That's right, Martha. The elderly and those who have comorbid conditions are the ones who are most likely to be hospitalized, and unfortunately, those most likely to die from this. The rate of mortality of those under the age of 70 is less than 1%, and as you get lower, it becomes quite rare. We don't want to see anyone die, though. But what's important, though, is if you're 18 years old and you're carrying this disease, you can give it to that grandfather, that great-grandmother at a household gathering, and how tragic that would be. You wouldn't want that on your conscience. So we ask people, please be careful.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. With regard to this lockdown idea, so why isn't the guidance to ask, older people to stay home, to lock down for, until they can get a vaccine, which seems like a pretty practical time frame at this point? Or people with comorbidities, to go at it that way, to protect those populations instead of shutting down some of these places that have just had a chance to reopen?
Well, we do ask those who are most vulnerable to look out for themselves, to really stay extra careful and avoid settings, especially where they can be put at risk. But, Martha, we have some key tools that are in our toolbox here. Just wearing a face covering, it works. We put out data from CDC just the other day that if two individuals are wearing face coverings at 1 meter apart, they reduce the spread of the virus by over 70%. You now have data showing we don't just protect from spreading the disease by wearing a mask, but also you protect yourself from receiving the disease by wearing the mask.
So when will we get to a point, we've heard, what's the FDA process like right now on this Pfizer vaccine? How long is it going to take for the FDA to approve it and get it in the pipeline?
So, Martha, we really had a historic week thanks to President Trump and his support of Operation Warp Speed, which I pulled together earlier this year, this whole government approach. Pfizer announced this data on Monday, over 90% effectiveness of this vaccine. And then later that day, we approved Eli Lilly's monoclonal antibody to treat individuals who test positive to help keep them out of the hospital. Last night, Moderna said they've reached a critical milestone and within days may have data for us on their vaccine. And this afternoon, we announced a historic partnership with pharmacies around the country to make sure that any COVID vaccine is accessible to people who are rural, underserved areas, the convenience of your local pharmacy. The Pfizer vaccine, once they submit an application to FDA, obviously FDA will review that as quickly as possible. But they're going to make sure we don't cut any corners. We want to make sure any vaccine is safe and effective. We believe, though, that by the end of December, we'll be in a position to vaccinate our most vulnerable people. And by the end of January, all of our senior citizens, all of our healthcare workers, and all of our emergency first responders. And then by the end of March to early April, have enough vaccine for any American who wants it.
All right. Secretary Azar, thank you. Good to have you here tonight. Certainly hope that all of those timelines.
Now, let me just say this. I am taking the time.
There's a family
to present some of this material that you might have overlooked or haven't had time to look at as it relates to what you see on your TV. I know you got all type of cable, you got all type of resources, you got better lines of information than I do. I understand that. And I also know that some of the stuff we use could be redundant. But this information is important, not because I said it, but because the mayor is just instituted, effective Monday the 16th of November, a 30-day advisory lockdown. And she's saying advisory because she don't want a whole lot of confusion, I'm sure. But believe me, she expects folks to go somewhere and sit down and stay out from out there, in there, wherever it is that can make this thing continue to go the way it's going. But the thing that I want to just footnote is this. Trump's administration has fast-tracked this vaccine, but all of it will probably be short-circuited because Biden and them will probably go to the White House. It won't be because they don't have the vaccine. It'll be because of political reasons. So I want you to understand, you talk about how many folks that Trump caused to die. Think about how many more folks gonna die that would have chose the vaccine had not this political, we don't want the Republicans to get the credit for it, foolishness. I just wanted to tell you that. All right, let's keep going. Now this piece you finna see now, some of y'all ain't gonna like it, but this is local.
I mean, it's interesting. We're
and I want
talking
you to
about
hear what this man got to say.
here. What do you make of what we're seeing in Philadelphia?
If the question is, are the Democrats stealing votes in Philadelphia? My answer is the Pope Catholic? It's a time-honored tradition in big Democrat-controlled cities like Chicago, my hometown, Philadelphia, to do precisely what they're doing now. I've never seen it on such a magnitude. Because this, I think, is an indication of just how widespread it is, how deep it is, and I don't think it's just confined to Philadelphia. My instincts, again, coming out of Chicago Democratic politics, my instincts tell me it's going on in Atlanta, it's going on in Detroit, it's going on in Milwaukee, it's going on in Las Vegas. It's like what Justice Powell said about pornography. You can't define it, but you know it when you see it. And coming out of the Democratic Chicago political establishment, I know how they operate. They control polling places, they stop votes when their candidate's behind. And then in the wee hours of the morning, in the dark of night, the stealing starts. And we've seen that in big numbers, unprecedented numbers in this election in Michigan and in Philadelphia. It's outrageous. And the fact that they're doing it with the impunity they're doing it with is because the media is simply looking the other way because they have, they're a corrupt mainstream media that's not interested in protecting our Constitution or the rule of law. They just want to beat Donald Trump at all costs. And they're not just stealing from Donald Trump. It's worse than that. They're stealing from us, the American people.
I mean, and not to hit a nerve, but I mean, you went to jail for this kind of stuff. I mean, is it really that common? I mean, you said it's all over the place?
In Democrat big cities where they control the political apparatus and they control the apparatus that counts the votes and they control the polling places and the ones who count those votes, it's widespread and it's deep. And as I said, it's a time-honored tradition. It's the kind of thing where everybody knows it happens. Now, I did not go to prison for that. I took on that corrupt Democrat machine, and they brought me to ruin. They destroy you when you take on a system, when you won't play ball, and when you take them on. And what they did to me at a local level, at the AAA level to a Democratic governor, I see what they're doing to a Republican president at the major league level. They hijacked a governor. They're now stealing a presidency. And this is incredibly dangerous to our democracy and our freedoms. And the American people should not stand for this. This is a critical moment in our history. And the question is going to be, do you take this lying down and just accept it and allow a corrupt political establishment to dictate to the people who their leaders should be, or do the people rise up and peacefully protest, organize and get active and back the president, because his cause is much larger than him. This cause goes beyond Donald Trump. This cause goes to we the people and our right to choose our own leaders in fair elections and free elections.
Now, you know, there was another piece I could have used, but I just didn't want to get off into that. They showed a picture of former Governor Ryan. They say he helped Negroes. They showed that former governor. They say he helped Negroes. And they showed a picture of Donald Trump. They say he helped Negroes. And they say because those three, two of which is Republican, Trump and Ryan, and this one I think was a Democrat until, you know, it took a Republican to give him some freedom. I think they might have a point. The media came at him. The system came at him. Ryan got disgraced something terrible. That governor you just saw got disgraced something terrible. Trump, we don't know yet. But the truth is, they was made examples of, so that particular source was saying. But I knew you would say it was fake news, not that I give a damn. We just don't have time to get everything in here. This ain't the 3-hour venue that we have on another piece. This is a very tight piece here. But I think there's something to that. Anytime a politician start looking like and they trying to look out for the Negro a little bit, they do end up getting disgraced. But let's go to the next piece, right? Oh, the little whistleblower, we don't need that. We don't need that whistleblower piece. Let's talk about this, what's her name? Harris becoming the president by Tucker, if you can find that piece. Because I see we're running out of time, and I really don't want to miss that. Yeah, we're going to use a little piece of this.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. There are a lot of things you want to know about Kamala Harris, and we plan to tell you. But the first thing to know about Harris is that in just a few months, she could run your country. If Joe Biden wins the presidential election, Kamala Harris effectively will become the president of the United States. Everyone knows that. Democratic donors understand it best of all. America's big banks have long controlled Joe Biden for years in the Senate. For decades, he faithfully did their bidding. And in return, they sent him money. They still do. In fact, far more money than they send to the incumbent president. And the banks were nervous for a moment about the prospect that Biden might pick Stacey Abrams, so they were thrilled when he chose Harris instead. On Twitter, they cheered the news. The consulting group Signum Global sent a bulletin telling its clients to calm down and rest easy. The Democratic ticket is under control, our control. Last night, in fact, the DNC hosted a fundraiser with lobbyists for Credit Suisse, Raytheon, Western Union, and ExxonMobil. So all is well on Wall Street. But how about the rest of the country? Actual voters have never shown a lot of enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. In fact, Harris was so remarkably unpopular in the Democratic primaries that despite nonstop media cheerleading, she was forced to drop out before the first votes were even cast, before Christmas. Biden's handlers know this, obviously. They were there, they watched it, but they don't care. They're betting that you hate Donald Trump so much that you will make Kamala Harris president anyway. Like their friends at Google, the Biden campaign understands it has a monopoly, and they plan to exploit it. This is not the democracy we were promised. In fact, it's not democracy at all. It's oligarchy, and it has consequences for everyone. If candidates are only accountable to a small number of partisan executives in New York and San Francisco, they're unlikely to care when your neighborhood police station is on fire, for example. They probably won't be too upset when packs of mentally homeless take over your street, or when your nephew overdoses on fentanyl. They have no incentive to improve your life, in other words, and instead they can just lecture you about your moral failings, and they are. That's the system we have now. Kamala Harris embodies it. It's all pretty sad and unnerving if you think about it. What if we had an election and no one cared what voters thought? We're about to find out. But before you get too depressed, take this moment to enjoy the breathtaking absurdity of it all. The most oblivious politician in America has joined forces with the most calculating politician in America. Hilarity ensues. Neither one believes anything, but only one of them knows what day it is. When Biden called Harris yesterday, for example, there was a script visible on his desk. So the Democratic nominee for president is unable to speak to his running mate without assistance. Here's how it went.
Hi, sorry to keep you.
No, that's all right. You ready to go to work?
Oh my God, I'm so ready to go to work.
First of all, is the answer yes?
The answer is absolutely yes, Joe, and I am ready to work. I am ready to do this with you, for you. I'm just deeply honored, and I'm very excited.
That is just too great. We're keeping that on a loop in the tape department. I'm sorry to keep you, Kamala Harris says. Not since Elizabeth Warren pretended to drink a beer with her husband has an exchange that fake been captured on video. There are Mexican soap operas more authentic than what you just saw. And yet you still have to wonder how many times did they have to reshoot that scene before Joe Biden got his lines right? Let's try it again, Mr. Vice President. Warm personal conversation, take 11. It's going to be a deeply amusing 3 months. Do your best to enjoy it. But as you do enjoy it, pay attention also to what Harris says she believes. She'll try
All right, we can go to something else because we're looking at the clock.
Y'all
Y'all get the drift. Bottom line is this here. There's a lot of things people can say, will say, and we can't deal with it. Now, let's listen to this No, Amari, I don't want to hear what that black preacher got to say. That's his judgment. And, you know, he talking about prostitution, but what he talking about, that's just his little sermon. Skip him, and let's find that the Daily Report. Yeah, this piece here will get. So while we finding that piece, you know, there was a piece we was going to look at, but I don't want to get off into all of this because this is not about dump Kamala Harris or this or that. Although sometimes I know you all think you know what I'm saying or what I'm doing. You don't, so just stay out of my business. But that ain't what it's about, so I don't need nobody else pouring salt. The salt that I don't pour, I damn sure ain't going to let it be poured off of my platform. Never thought he was going to drop. Let's look at this piece. This is a good piece here.
Feud on the Democrat side.
Oh, gosh. Do you remember when Kamala Harris, she had that radio interview with Breakfast Club? It was released. We talked about it. She admitted that she smoked pot. When they asked her if she was pro-legalizing marijuana, she said, of course I smoked marijuana. Half my family's from Jamaica. Are you kidding me? Well, her own father had a problem with that. But listen to what she said on the Breakfast Club.
They say you oppose legalizing weed.
That's not true.
I know.
and look, I joke about it, half joking. Half my family's from Jamaica. Are you kidding me?
You ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like
I inhale. I did inhale.
Okay. It's really hysterical for the former Attorney General of that state to talk about doing something illegal, laughing about it, giggling about it, and trying to get some traction for it. Among the people that were upset by it, her dad, Donald Harris, from Jamaica, an economics professor at Stanford University, says this: "My dear departed grandmothers, as well as my deceased parents, must be turning in their grave right now to see their family's name, reputation, and proud Jamaican identity being connected in any way, jokingly or not, with the fraudulent stereotype of pot-smoking, joy-seeking, and in pursuit of identity politics." Man, what a blast at his daughter who wants to be the next president.
Now, Amar, let's find that piece where that 500,000 people from India is finna to be allowed into this country. Once again, that was a serious piece there as it relates to how she come across. You know, Harris is you know, she's comfortable being around Negroes. I mean, she's been around Negroes, and if the politics and the propaganda wouldn't have told you she was Indian Jamaican, she would have been a Negro. You know what I mean? She do the things they do. She eat chillin', she eat greens, she do everything. She smoke pot. You know, and she was implying that she might have got high by swallowing the marijuana or whatever, woo. But her daddy, he's elite. He's a professor. He's somebody. He said, I don't like that. You up here putting our business in the street like that. So, you know, she had to deal with that. You know, the mama was an Indian, which is close to African. Daddy was a Jamaican, which is close to African. But you can see Daddy wasn't playing all that. Daddy was not a slave. He was a slave owner more than likely. So those are things you just need to know. But I think she got it in her to fill us to a degree, although she ain't gonna do nothing special for us as it relates to reparations.
Archer's curiosity.
U.S. President-elect Joe Biden will work towards providing a roadmap to American citizenship for nearly 11 million undocumented immigrants, including over 500,000 from India, and will also establish a minimum admission number of 95,000 refugees annually. As a largely immigrant community, but in some cases with American roots reaching back generations, Indian Americans know firsthand the strength and resilience that immigrants bring to the United States of America, according to a policy document issued by the Biden campaign. The Biden administration will support family-based immigration and preserve family unification as a core principle of the US immigration system, which includes reducing the family visa backlog. Biden will also remove the uncertainty for Dreamers by reinstating the DACA or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program and explore all legal options to protect their families from inhumane separation. And he will end workplace raids and protect other sensitive locations from immigration enforcement actions, it said.
Now, I just have to say this briefly, and then, Amara, if you can find a piece where I think it's the angle, where she talk about Biden putting other people first and America last. But let me make this little comment. I just want to see this clearly. If Biden, something happened, how is it? We got a pandemic. You can't go from city to city in America. You can't go from community to community in America. You can't go from state to state in America. But yet, Biden is going to bring in at least 11 million more he called refugees. That's sort of interesting. Why? Why you finna do this? All right? Why you finna do this, dude? And the other thing is, Biden finna bring in, him and Harris, people from her mama's side. 500,000. That's 500,000 Indians. I guess they say they got more to offer. They take education more serious. They more whatever than the Negro. So we're going to move the Negro out of the way, but we'll still have dark-skinned people. They just won't be those that were descendants of slaves in America. So we're going to replace them, and we're going to start bringing in all these other people. Trump was saying, no, hell no, I ain't going. Y'all say, I hate Trump. So now Biden say, I'm going to give you what you love. Something other than your own. All right. We'll see. I ain't started praying yet, Omari. But I might start praying in a minute. And I know my prayer might not be no better than nobody else. But you know what? I might just throw in my word. Because the more I see and the more I hear, somebody might need to intervene. Because I'm just wondering if you're going to bring in 500,000 Indians from her mama's side, are you going to bring in 500,000 Jamaicans from her daddy's side? Those that was out in the bush, up in the mountains, smoking that real serious marijuana. Those that were the slaves on her daddy's side plantation. Huh? So are you going to bring us 1 million people in America because you giving us Miss Harris? How about it? So if you're going to give us 500,000 Indians, give us 500,000 Jamaicans at the same time. And don't tell me their locks are too long. Don't tell me they look too much like the Negro. Don't tell me they smoke too much blow. Don't tell me that. Just bring them Jamaicans in here when you bring them Indians in here. And when you get ready to bring them 11 million Hispanics and Muslims in here, Biden, you come up with some money for reparations for the Negro, since you finna subsidize these people that ain't done a damn thing to build this country. That's all I'm saying, Biden. That don't mean I don't like Biden. That don't mean I like Trump. All I'm saying is Trump was saying, whoa, I'm gonna take care of y'all. Negro say, no, he's a lie. So Biden say, I'm gonna take care of them. Harris say, I ain't gonna do nothing special for the Negroes. Y'all love them, don't you? Nigga, don't try hating on me because I call the truth the way I see it. If you don't want to hear it, then move around. But this is the truth. And maybe, just maybe, and I don't want to say too much, there's a long time between now and January the 20th. You understand? Something gonna have to change drastically to be sure that this trick that I see coming don't materialize. You understand? Because what's finna happen now is that the Negro is finna get pushed farther down the ladder by this old senile person that was the beneficiary of the Negro saying, let's get him out. But that don't mean the Negro was so stupid that he couldn't see that Biden ain't nothing but an old Klan. And if you were too dumb to see that, then nigga, whatever they bring over here, they need to stand on your neck. They need to hang you. If you couldn't see what you was gonna get while you were standing in line running to get him out, let's see something else, man, before I go too far.
Mandate.
Yeah, that's
for
the one I
defeat.
write right there.
That's
Mandate
the
for
focus
defeat.
of tonight's angle.
But that Omari be popping.
Now,
I
during
like
the
it in you, bro.
campaign, Joe Biden and his handlers refused to be transparent about basic policy questions, including their specific plan for handling COVID. Now, on top of that, they lied about Joe's opposition to fracking, his true timeline for destroying the oil and gas industry, and they knew in their heart of hearts that the nation wasn't nearly as radical as their party had become. So they sold Biden as sort of a kind of moderate, amiable, grandfatherly figure. He would help heal the nation's divide and even conquer the virus itself with science and compassion.
Today, I've named a COVID-19 Transition Advisory Board, comprised of distinguished public health experts. This group will advise on detailed plans built on a bedrock of science and to keep compassion, empathy, and care for every American at its core.
Compassion. Remember, we've told you that you need to use what we like to say Bidenology to translate announcements of this type. But look who will be actually making the policy. Passionate? First, there's Dr. Zeke Emanuel, Rahm's brother, the architect of Obamacare, death panels and all. Dr. Emanuel also just happens to be someone who thinks it's morally problematic for people to live beyond the age of 75.
I look at 75 when I look at all the data on physical disability, dementia and Alzheimer's disease, loss of creativity, slowing down of the mind and the body. And 75 seems like that, you know, albeit somewhat arbitrary moment where you get the maximum chance you're still going to be vital and alive and vigorous.
I wonder if 77-year-old Joe knows about Zeke's 75-year-old cutoff. I wonder what Dr. Emanuel's real feelings are about COVID, given that, according to the CDC, most deaths are Americans 75 and up. Also on the task force is former HHS whistleblower Rick Not So Bright, who filed the frivolous whistleblower complaint against the Trump administration. Now, putting him on the task force, it's just a vindictive, gratuitous, purely political move. And if you think Biden's virus panel will offer any optimism or hope of returning to normal anytime soon, guess again. After all, he put Dr. Michael Osterholm, we've been warning you about him, on the task force as well. This is what the good doctor just told CNBC today.
What America has to understand is we are about to enter COVID hell. We have not even come close to the peak. And as such, our hospitals are now being overrun. The next, 3 to 4 months are going to be by far the darkest of the pandemic.
The long, dark winter is back. Biden also appointed Obama's former Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, to co-chair the COVID task force. Now, when President Trump announced that a vaccine could be ready in November, this is what Murthy did to throw cold water on the idea.
I think it's very dangerous at this point to give specific dates. We've got to be really clear with people about what the distribution plan is for this vaccine, because it will take months to get this vaccine out even under optimal circumstances, which is why the vaccination campaign we develop has got to be top-notch and executed well.
I guess he forgot to buy a vowel. Fortunately for the rest of us, that MD was wrong and Trump was right. Today, Pfizer announced promising early results from its clinical vaccine trials. They anticipate having enough doses for 15, 20 million people by the end of the year, this year. That's good news, right? Well, not if you're the governor of New York.
It's good news, bad news, George. The bad news is that it's about 2 months before Joe Biden takes over. The Trump administration is rolling out the vaccination plan, and I believe it's flawed. How can we shape the Trump administration vaccine plan to fix it or stop it before it does damage.
Okay, this is truly a sick man with a tyrant complex. But then again, preventing COVID deaths among the most vulnerable has never been his thing. Far better to spend his time harassing a bunch of Orthodox Jews attending a funeral. Social distancing. Now, what about all those science people? What they seem to believe in, other words, that a vaccine will only be safe if Biden's in office. For those of you who thought this was about the science, well, guess again. This is about power, my friends. It's about social control, controlling you, and it always has been. And as Biden made clear today, not even a vaccine will deter them.
Maybe it saves the life of a member of your place of worship. Maybe it saves the lives of one of your children's teachers. Maybe it saves your life. So please, I implore you, wear a mask. Do it for yourself. Do it for your neighbor. A mask is not a political statement, but it is a good way to start pulling the country together.
Wait a minute. Wearing a mask is a good way to start pulling the country together? What does pulling the country together have to do with science or health? You get it? The more you hear these guys talk about COVID, the more it sounds as though their perspectives are truly political, entirely political. Americans are happy to cooperate on health measures, including masks, that will truly benefit our health. But they're not going to give up their traditional liberties as part of a political effort to start pulling the country together. They've been tearing the country apart for the last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. In short, the key lesson from today is that Biden's COVID plans are not driven by science, they aren't altered by the development of a vaccine, and they appear to have no relation to the actual fact. Certainly, they ignore the overwhelming evidence that Western Europe has tried similar policies which have ended in disaster. Lockdowns, masks, none of it seemed to stem the virus. Meanwhile, in America, our economy is roaring back so long as Biden and company don't get their hands on it. Look, it's too early to tell how the election is ultimately going to come out, but I can tell you this. Joe Biden and the Democrats do not have a mandate from the voters to wreck the economy or take away your civil liberties, my civil liberties, in the name of COVID. Over 71 million patriots voted for President Trump. Assuming they can win in Georgia in January, Republicans will hold the Senate. Republicans gain seats in the House. The American people didn't vote to lock themselves down, and I believe they will resist any such effort. I've interviewed Governor DeSantis and lots of other Republican officials, and I do not think that you will see states governed by Republicans destroying themselves, destroying small businesses, restaurants, everything, due to the fear of COVID. And I don't think a Congress with a Republican Senate will make them do so. So if Biden and his puppeteers try to force us into unnecessary lockdowns, they'll find themselves taken to court, and they'll lose. I know that the Democrats spent most of the weekend celebrating. No COVID there, but it's important that they understand the truth. Whatever happens in this presidential election, you will not have the power to rewrite our Constitution, deny our liberties, and lock down our economy. And if you try any of these things, we will fight you day and night, and we will win. The American people have spoken, and they've made clear that COVID or no COVID, the Democrats must seek cooperation, not submission from us. For months now, I've made it clear that COVID is a national tragedy that should have been something that brought us all together. Instead, Democrats used it as a political weapon. It was effectively Joe Biden's running mate. Now the election's over. A vaccine is on the way. And they're still using it. What was Biden's phrase? Start pulling the country together? Sorry, Democrats. You don't have that kind of power. If you want to pull the country together, I suggest you start treating the rest of us as free and equal citizens. Ordering us around or trying to will only backfire. And that's the angle.
Now, and this will be it. You know, thank Can TV, Amari here. We've tried, and what we'll do is next week we'll continue. But you heard that woman. Some of it you didn't want to hear. And that's all right. Some of you got problems with Fox News. All of it's fake news. It's okay. I don't care. But you hear it coming out of their mouth. Now, you can hate Trump all you want. You can love Biden all you want. It ain't got nothing to do with me. But I do know this. I do know this. There's a very clear difference between the two. Both of them are products of American racism, white supremacy, and all of the stuff that you voted against Trump for. Boy, but look at what you finna get. Possible. So, like we said last week, wipe your weeping eyes. When that rope and that chain starts squeezing your neck because you wanted him out. See, sometimes you want something out just to have it out, but what you get in might not be the best thing for you. But it ain't over yet. You understand? So until next week, Alafia, peace, and good health.